going on? One of my followers calls me the side plank king, so I thought I'd treat us all to a side plank. A little bit of stress on those bones and muscles gives them a little strength, right? Open your heart. Say good morning to Jesus. I love this little transition here. This is like my favorite part right there. Hook onto your leg. There you go. You can handle this. Show off for your friends, right? It's all good. Yeah. Happy Saturday. How are you? It's all good. So let me flip you over. Don't get dizzy. Don't puke. Okay. Good. See who's visiting us today. Good morning, Swimming. Good morning, Sammy. All right. Hi. Guess what? I'm on vacation. Yeah. I'm off this week. Our son's getting married on Monday. And so that's pretty exciting. And then we'll retreat up to Cooperstown, New York. And get a little bit of, hopefully, sunshine and some walk through the autumn, you know? That would be enjoyable. So we'll probably not do this for a couple weeks. Hi. You don't love side planks? I love side planks. You can do them. Oh, thank you so much, Swimmy. Yeah, second time around, so I think we got a winner this time. We pray. But yeah, he's he's doing it. Thank you so much. But yeah, we probably won't be doing this for about two weeks. So we got a little passage today and story to go with it, and I think it's one that some people will be able to relate to pretty good here. Well, first of all, John the Baptist is in the middle of this one. You know John, right? Best friends with him, right? I hope so. Anyway, John was a very humble man, and when he was when they figured out what he was doing, they went down and the Jews went down and began to question him. And they asked him, who are you? This is by the way, from John 19 on to 27. He asked him, who are you? And he confessed and did not deny, I am not the Christ. And they thought he might be. And they asked him, what then? Are you Elijah? He said, I am not. Are you the prophet? And he answered, no. And he said, well, who are you? We need to give an answer to those who sent us. And what do you say about yourself? He says, I'm the voice crying out in the wilderness, make straight of the Lord, as the prophet Isaiah said. And they asked him, then why are you baptizing if you're neither Christ nor Elijah nor a prophet? And John answered, I baptize with water, but among you stands one you do not know, even he who comes after me, who has a sandal I am unworthy to loosen. So John's just telling you, I just sprinkle people with water. Yeah, you're right, Swimming. I do think good things take time. He took his time this time. He spent a little time with this one. So hopefully it's a much better outcome. I'm pretty confident it will be. So John, I'm just a water sprinkler, but somebody's coming after me who's bigger than me, and of course that would be our Lord. But the humbleness of John is the focus of that part of it, and it kind of called to mind my own personal baptism and profession of faith. And I can recall it well. And I mean, I spent the first 25 years of my life as a Catholic. And if you are a Catholic, the Catholic people are still wonderful people in my life. Dear to my heart. The church will always have an interesting, warm place with me. But there are vast differences between Catholic life and fundamental life. And I can recall, certainly in the beginning, wanting to, once I got saved and wanted to experiment with, I wound up in an Assembly of God church, which is an offshoot of Pentecostal church, and So anyway, I can recall my mom saying to me, coming through, "Oh, whoa, what time is mass?" And I got a little cringy there for a minute, like, what time is mass? Oh boy, Mom, they don't call it mass; it's service. And if if you've ever been, if you're part of the Catholic Church, you know what time church starts. It starts right at that time, and 45 minutes later, you're headed home for macaroni and football. Okay. If you belong to some other denomination, guess again. And you were baptized in the assembly. Oh, awesome. When you were 20, you and me, here we go. We got something in common. Great. So anyway, there's some big differences. If service, not mass, starts at 11 o'clock, okay, that means at 11 o'clock they're going to start letting Sunday school into the service. People will be hanging around talking. People will be setting up the altar. And that's what time the activities begin, okay? Not the service. The service might get underway by maybe 12:15 and last for about 3 hours. So if you're a football fan, which I'm not, I'm a hockey and baseball nut, as most of my followers know. If you're a football fan on Sunday afternoon this time of year, this is not for you. I mean, it's really hard because unless your team's playing at 4 o'clock. But even then, you leave Assembly of God Church or Baptist Church, what have you. Sometimes it's 2, 3 in the afternoon. You got time to go home and have dinner, and then you're back at 6 o'clock for another hour plus get together with them. But anyway, so that was one of the major differences. But the difference in the baptism, of course, is that in Catholic Church, your parents give you to the church for baptism, and they bring you. But in other denominations, this is your voluntary profession of faith. You do this. It's your choice. So when your mother, or father and parents together, and your godparent and whatnot bring you to Catholic Church for your baptism, you don't have a lot of say in it sometimes, unless you're older, like my dad was when he got baptized in the Catholic Church. But anyway, so it's a much different scenario, and it kind of highlights for me one of the vast differences in Catholic Church versus other denominations too. And it's not so much just at the time frame that's done, but the approach really. The Catholic Church, if you've ever been a part of it for a very long time, is very monumental, and it has and it's in some ways there's an us and them kind of separation. Okay, the church hierarchy and the parishioners, it doesn't feel, I found through, finally at the end I could put it into words. I didn't feel a oneness with them. I didn't feel you were about to say, hey, see, we got a lot in common. And so, it was one of the differences is that you didn't feel a bond with the Catholic Church. If you wanted something from the church, you had to go ask them for it. Okay, you had to approach them. You had to go and it was in their time, their wishes, their everything, and even as far as serving the church goes, you could go and ask to serve. They didn't come to you to ask for service. You went to them, and they decided if they really wanted you for that service. In other faiths, I found that when it came to things, they came to you. They wanted to hear from you, and that was the nice part about it. If first of all, if they wanted a service, if they had a small ministry for you to help out with in the other churches, they came to you and say, hey, we got this thing we're going to be doing. It fits you, I mean, I think you could. We got a couple people we need and what have you. Do you think you could help out? Tuesday night, whatever. And you know what? It warmed your heart to feel like they wanted you. They came to you that way. And there were a couple things I really, really enjoyed being a part of. But the baptism thing too was also something that, hey, do you want to get baptized? They would come at you and say, do you want to do a when you're ready to be baptized, we want to help you. We want to have a baptism for you. And so I was like, oh, hey, that's cool. And I didn't dare. Oh, that's fantastic. Those free churches are awesome, by the way. Yeah. And so when we, it was very exciting to know that, like, they wanted that. So anyway, I was very mum about this because, with my overtly Catholic mom and what have you, any kind of baptism in another faith, okay, signified, this giant conversion to her. And when it came to Catholics, okay, old Italian Catholic mothers and grandmothers and what have you, if you did something like, hey, Dave joined a cult, you know that? Do you know he's part of a cult now? You heard it all, okay? You drank the Kool-Aid, I mean, Reverend Jim was waiting for you up on the stage, and he was getting ready for you to whip up the Kool-Aid. So anyway, I was very mum about this, to my family, because I knew this would turn into a fiasco, and so but here I am professing my faith, but I'm afraid to tell my parents, I'm afraid to tell my mother especially. My mother would have lost her mind, and she found out eventually. Yeah, there was brain spatter all over the floor. But anyway, the baptism in and of itself was a funny thing, because we were having a conference with a sister church at the hotel, in our center of my town, but unfortunately I had to work that weekend, and they said that there might be baptisms at it, but I wasn't going to be able to attend because I had to work and I couldn't get the weekend off. But anyway, my friend who I attended church with called me up in the middle of my work shift and said, would you like to, guess what? They're having baptisms all night. Would you like to get baptized tonight? And I'm like, tonight? Yeah. I go, well, I don't get out till 11 o'clock. No, they're going to be there, till doing it after midnight and what have you. I go, well, where are they going to baptize they said in the pool. I'm like, okay. And, then I'm going back to my Catholic head, and I'm like, the little dish and what have you, and, and I'm like, well, it's a submersion, and I'm like, okay. In the pool. Now, the pool in that hotel was very interesting to me, because I had broken into that hotel probably a bunch of times and gone swimming, okay? And this was prior to getting saved. I thought nothing of sneaking into that pool and what have you. And I had a sneaky way into the hotel and go swimming in that pool. And so the pool that I often committed some sins in, okay, was now going to be the place where my sins were forgiven. So anyway, it was full circle indeed. So. Anyway, they say he goes. You got to get white. You got to get white clothes. I'm like, okay. And so I ran home and picked up some white pants and what have you. It was the only pair of white pants I had, and they hardly fit. And but there I was, and we got to the hotel. I was very excited and very nervous all at the same time, and I can see going on all around the pool. There was all sorts of baptisms going on, and they were submerging and dunking a lot of people, and there were a lot of different ministers doing baptisms. But anyway, out in the middle of the pool, I spotted somebody, and I heard his voice, and he goes, Dave. He's like, you getting baptized today? And I'm like, yes. And he goes, well, come on in. He goes, I want to baptize you. And it was the assistant pastor of the church, and he was a young guy named Gary. And Gary, he was maybe 2 years older than me. I was about 25, like I said at the time. He was maybe 27. He was newly married, and all the young girls of the church were pretty gaga over Gary. and even though he was married, and but anyway, he kept the young people coming, and and going to church. But anyway, he was very good at it. He never gave sermon. He never gave and he never did any of the services except for when he tried out for the lead pastor role when ours left, and he didn't get it. But Gary, was a nice young guy, and he called out to me, and I was like, he wants to baptize me. He's asking to baptize me. And I'm saying to myself, if this was the church, I'd have to go, to a priest and apply and go to a class and and make a big deal over it, probably give money, and it would have just been a giant production. Whereas with Gary, it was as easy as walking into the swimming pool, and he was going to baptize me, and I was like, really? And I'm like, I felt, our own assistant pastor wanted to baptize me, and I felt like, you don't have to, Gary. He's like, no. He goes, I want to baptize you. He says, you're one of us. And I said, okay. And he said the pastoral words and what have you, and he submerged me. And when he pulled me out, I could see his big smile. He was so proud of this, and I was like, I could just see his big smiling face, and he was so happy. And he splashed me, and I splashed him, and I dunked him in the water, and it turned into this giant fun and playful moment. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it was like my heart was so full that I could rejoice and celebrate and feel the joy of the baptism in and of itself, yes, which is, the whole moment should be joyful. It should be exciting to the person getting it. But moreover, the fact that it was like an acceptance. It was one of those things. It was like, welcome to the family, kind of thing. And let's play, let's have some fun, And in the nasty white clothes, I stayed in the water for a little while, splashing around with a few people and what have you, and it turned into a nice little thing. And then I got out, and it was a freezing cold night, and I didn't have anything to change to, and I figured my friend better get me home or what have you. I'm going outside. It's like 10 degrees outside. The clothes are freezing on me and what have you. But then that Sunday, that was a Friday, and that Sunday service was on again, and they, at the end of service, 3.5 hours later, no football, there was, they handed out certificates to signify your baptism, and I was saved for last, guess because it was 11:30 at night, 11:45. I must have been last on the list. But you could just tell that Gary had saved that one for last. He was so excited to call me up and bring me my certificate. I got the biggest hug from him and the biggest smile. And there was just something about it that was just such a gratifying and exciting thing. And I think back on that time in Gary, and I think of John, and I think of the humbleness of the two. I'm not saying Gary is John, okay, but on the other hand, though, and Gary was never pastor, he was never reverend, he was always Gary. Everybody just called him Gary, and but he was a minister and a pastor, and but he was always Gary. And anyway, but I think of John, and I think of Gary, and I see the parallels. There was a significance to, when I read this passage, and I say to myself, there was another humble man that knew his place, knew he was a servant of Jesus. Okay, he wasn't Jesus. Whereas in the Catholic Church, I'm sorry, but it may sound the way it sounds. It almost felt to them like they were the entity, okay? And whereas Gary came off as the servant of the entity that he should come off as, And not only that, but I mean, you feel that representation in John and through Gary, and you say to yourself, I had a true moment, a true John the Baptist moment, just like it, and I feel like his representative, his descendant, as a baptizer, was baptized me, and I only feel that way because of the attitude and the behavior and the overall humble and full of humility circumstances that it was under. And going forth, whenever I help with anything like that, I want that humble. I want to feel that I'm presenting myself that way. And anything I do, I don't want to feel like I'm the the entity. I want to feel like I'm a servant to you. We came to serve, and Jesus came to serve. We're all servants. And Gary was a servant that day, and he was a humble servant, and I'll never forget that. The certificate perished in a fire, in our fire years later. I'm pretty sure anyway. It matters not. I had the moment, and as long as I remember it, it will be forever ingrained in my heart, and a moment that I not only had with that, but I felt that was my moment with Jesus right there. I was baptized. I was baptized with water, and I professed my faith, and I was baptized by a humble man. And when they say you look to find your place in the Bible, you look to find your moments in there. That truly was one of mine, and so it's a fond moment. And hopefully that we all take into our day that same spirit of humbleness and humility that Gary and of course John exhibit. All right, I'm done for another week. Thanks for hanging in, especially Succulent. You're awesome. Thanks for staying with me through this. Thanks for contributing too. And anybody else who sees the video today and you like it, give me a like, give me a comment, give me some good stuff back, and pray for me, and I'll pray for you. I'll see you guys on another live, I guess probably in 2 weeks. Okay, peace and love. Take care.